Welcome everyone to the December 14th, 2023 Helm Developer Call. Go ahead and put our meeting notes and document into chat if it's not already there. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and walk through some announcements, discussion, and then see what goes from there. The first thing are a couple of announcements that are mine, so I'll start off with those. The first is that Helm 3.13.3 is out. It only has a few changes and additions to it. It is compiled with a newer version of Go, which means the CVEs that showed up inside of Go recently should be out, that were in the standard library. And so that went out yesterday on schedule. Our next release is 3.14. And that would bring in Kubernetes 129 support, which just came out Tuesday of this week. Was it Tuesday? It was delayed a little bit, so it just came out. So we will need to get our update in for 129 for the Kubernetes standard library stuff. I'll probably ping some of the maintainers to review the pull requests, and so we can get that rolling here. But that one, instead of coming out on the second Wednesday of the month, in January, it always comes out on the third Wednesday. Being a minor release, we do a release candidate 10 days before. And in order to pull that off with the holiday to start the year, we always shift things back 1 week later. So it comes out in the third Wednesday on January because of, well, the holidays pushing everything back. Those are the two announcements that I've got. Does anybody have anything else? With that, we will move into discussion. And George, I see you have the first one.
I think Scott's already answered the question. That produce somewhere else. So the containers.
Also open to other opinions, right? But I think Matt, the main reason that we don't build a container is because Locky has been doing that and maintaining it for so long. Sort of an unofficial official one.
Does he still keep it up to date?
I believe
might
so.
Even be all automated.
I think it's automated. Let me just double check it again.
I guess to keep it short. I was going to say, to keep it short, then if it's there and it's up to date, then there's probably no reason for us to build another set of containers.
But is it?
Unless we feel strongly that it is up to date, and then unless we feel strongly that we should be building our own containers, and then
well, let's see. First thing is, I have no idea if it's up to date, and it totally isn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does not seem to be.
Yeah, this gets into one of those things. So I was on this issue. It doesn't look like Locky's been keeping this up to date anymore. And that kind of had been the unofficial, because he was a charts maintainer. Yeah. And the thing here, and you know, tooling and a lot has changed since he set it up. There's things like the GitHub container registry, stuff like that. I've been waiting to see on this pull request if any of the maintainers showed up as interested, because when you do this, you have to maintain it, keep it up to date, all of that good stuff. Even with automation, you got to make sure the automation works. Host OS gets CVEs in it. You got to bump that. There's a lot of work to do. And I've been waiting to see whether somebody wants to own and maintain it. And I haven't seen it, which if nobody's interested, I'm always hesitant, right? It's why we don't maintain what goes into Homebrew. We don't maintain what goes into, the Windows one that I'm forgetting now.
I'm happy to help with that, especially with set up the automation and address issues.
That's not the problem. The question is, and this goes into a political side of what is the base image going to be? You know, there's a lot of things around that. The actual machinery is not the problem. The issue is what is the decisions that need to be made.
I was going to bring that up, but it's great that you brought it up, because you realize that you've got two people talking about this who both work for companies with different base images as part of their stuff here. This is not an easy one, right? Nope. There's also the fact that there's a difference between open source and open builds, right? The people who do an open source project are not necessarily meant to do all builds for all things that way. And my example I use for this is curl. Everybody uses curl. Nobody gets their curl binary from the curl project. When you think about it, nobody ever does. You get it from, you'll get it from usually from your distro, your operating system. If you're on Mac, you get a version that comes with it, or you get it in Homebrew, right? You get it from your Linux distro. They're always the ones that build it. Microsoft builds it for Windows, right? You don't get it from there because open source doesn't mean open build. You don't have to be the people who do all of the builds that are used everywhere, right? And this is one of those places where you've got a number of companies out there that already do have container images with Helm in it, and they're maintaining that build on their container image, right? ChainGuard, who keeps, they mark it on Twitter like nobody else that I've seen with their base images. And they've got one for Helm, and a lot of other people do too. And so I'm wondering whether this is a place where, since a maintainer hasn't shown strong interest and doesn't want to, we say, you know what? Just like with Homebrew, we're going to be hands off here, and others are going to do it, and we're okay with that. What do you all think?
I think we need to have some guidance in some form or another, whether it be assets and technical assets, or at least documentation saying, hey, we're not, the Helm maintainers are not going down this path because X, Y, Z.
Yeah. And I think that's where we come up with the guidance here, and then we write it down.
Yeah. I mean, Martin brought up a good point in chat. Why not Scratch? It's vanilla. But still, then where do you store it? That becomes, yes, we went ahead and we talked about the base image. Now we're done where we store it.
Well, what are you going to do with it? GitHub Container Registry. That's the easy one.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Docker Hub, because Docker Hub, we actually have a space under Docker Hub for things, and Docker Hub for open source projects like ours will open it up so people can just pull it like nobody's business. It doesn't go behind the normal gating. It's one of those things they do with open source projects, certain ones. And so we can do that. But when it comes from scratch, think about what somebody's going to do with it then. So how are they going to use that image in what way? Lots of times people want shell on there because they're going to shell in and then run certain commands on that, right? So you don't have that. You start limiting its usefulness. Now we're to the user experience discussion of what does that look like? And is that something we want to take on as a project?
Yeah. So how about, since I brought this up, I can put on this PR some of this discussion that we need to decide on the base image. We need to decide on the registry, which would default to either GitHub or Docker registry, like you said, Matt. Docker registry, I think. I can stick on the PR that we need guidance around, like, if we're going to distribute this, then it becomes like a maintenance overhead, and we are picking people's base OS, and it needs to be maintained. Is there anything else I should add to the PR? And then maybe that could go into like more formal documentation at some point.
Yeah, and I would look. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Okay, I was just going to suggest that we actually write out our user stories for this. We have user profiles, but like kind of like, what are the use cases? Like as Matt said, is it for CI? Is it for, what is it for? Yeah.
But here's also the thing: is this a thing we want to take on? Right? In the past, we said these distribution things outside of us coming here with just the build binaries were not ours, which is why we don't do Chocolatey or Homebrew, which is why when somebody else wanted to maintain things in a PPA, we're like, fine, we're not interested in that. All of these other places, we said, we're not doing everything everywhere for everybody, because if you're spending a lot of time dealing with all the distribution stuff, you're not spending time on Helm itself, right? And so when nobody stepped in and said, I want to maintain this from the Helm project and drive this forward, right? It made me say, do we just want to defer and then list out those other places where you can get a container image that's kept up to date, just like we list out Homebrew and Chocolatey and say you can get it from these places, but we don't maintain it. But it is to Helm, right? That may be an easier way than us taking on that load and doing that work and then having to do the use cases and having to do all those things. The Helm
Matt,
project
just to be
doesn't need to
clear,
do all
I think the use cases falls outside of that, because I think based on the use cases, we can recommend different things to different people. You know, so like, I don't mean, I think we need to do the work of creating those use cases. That's what issues are for. But I think we can ask the people to describe their use cases, and then we can see, like, is that the answer may not be that we want to maintain something either. That's the thing. The answer might be it's a documentation update. So I'm not suggesting flushing out use cases to take on a whole new slew of work for us. It may actually just help us to say, what are you using this for? What is the actual goal of this issue? Do we need to update the docs? Do we need to just recommend in the issue that someone does something different? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know, say what we do internally is we just do get Helm, the script, and we bake our own container image, and it has a whole bunch of other tools. We want like YAML, and we want kube control, and we want generate Terraform.
Yeah.
So just having a Helm container wouldn't be super useful for us. Maybe it could be for some people, but
the one thing that I have seen, just like in your case, I've seen people grab something like the chain guard image, grab the binary out of there, and then stick it into their own image in a multi-step builder, instead of running scripts to get it. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do these things, but yeah.
Yeah, copy from it's not my favorite pattern, with like dependencies between containers and.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. So, but in any case, yeah. So the thing that I don't want is to add more to our maintenance, more to our release process, more to all of those things when we already have a pattern of not doing every one of these and just pointing people to others. And it may be worth just grabbing, here's a bunch of the container images that already exist, point people over there and say, use one of these if this is what you want, and you can pick the right one for your ecosystem. If you're in, my ecosystem over at SUSE Rancher, maybe you pick something that we've got. If you're in the Red Hat ecosystem, maybe you pick something that they've got. If you're in a different one, maybe you pick one of their images that's appropriate for the environment, your support contracts, things like that, which we're not going to deal with. And so it may end up being helpful to do some of those things and point people to all those other locations.
I will update the PR with this discussion. Yeah, let's not spend more time on this one. We've got other things on the agenda. So,
okay.
And yeah, thank you.
All right. Then we'll move on to the next one. And I think it's Marcin. Is Marcin on the call?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. 1 minute introduction. I am an engineer on the Stackbox project, which is a solution for securing Kubernetes clusters. And in order to deploy Stackbox, we have what I would call insanely complicated Helm charts with a lot of logic inside to make the user experience smooth. And in order to test that, some people on our project in the past have written a tool called Helm test, which lets you declare a bunch of test cases where you say what values, what environment the Helm runs in, and the tool uses Helm underneath to render the chart. Then it parses the resulting YAML, and you can do JQ-based expressions to do assertions. It all works nicely, but we don't currently support doing things like using the lookup function in the chart. And a bug fix I'm working on right now makes extensive use of that, and I would like to be able to basically feed a bunch of Kubernetes objects and pretend these are on the cluster which Helm thinks it's running against. But in order to do that, I need to be able to inject a fake client into the Helm engine. And I made a PR to do it. I don't know if it's the right way, but I would like to see some input and hopefully get it merged. It doesn't have to be, of course, in exactly the same shape, but
yeah. No, I understand. And I like being able to inject and move things around and have injectable clients, things like that. So I at least will, I opened it up and I will take a look at it. I'm not sure I'll get to it today, but I'll try to get to it by the end of the week. It's on my open list of tabs that I will work through, and we'll try to get to that. And coming here and asking us to do this
I-
with everything in there is a good way to get some bodies on it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the
Thank you.
squeaky wheel gets the grease is generally unfortunately the way things tend to work. I did stick one comment on the PR. Apart from like it's like 3 levels of nested like closures, which is a little mind bending, but
Yeah, I don't know whether I should
Uh,
optimize for least amount of code changed or like the nicest way.
Easiest to understand is generally the better pattern. But I didn't quite understand why there was that assumption with like there's the particular call which was, and you had a comment kind of like this is the best we can do around inferring the group version. It might that seemed to be a little dicey to me because over time these assumptions tend to get broken and people come back and complain and so maybe explaining that because I didn't quite understand that logic. That's probably just because I understand
this is
the
a bit
API you're calling, but
so currently the way the code uses a client is it creates 2 clients. One is to the dynamic client to fetch the actual objects, and another one is a discovery client to be able to inquire about the mapping between kinds and resources. And however, when we run Helm tests, there's no real cluster, and at the time we run it, we won't even know what objects the user might feed in as the fake objects to that we want the chart to be able to see. So unless we do something ugly like ask the user to provide explicit resource name for every kind object they supply, I don't see a better way to do this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at it because off the top of my head, nothing's coming to me. But I also haven't looked at this part of the code in a while, so I've got to reread it to refresh my mind before I think of much on it.
yeah. I'll stick another comment. How about we, for the purpose of the meeting, we keep on moving forward, but I'll stick a comment around custom resources as well. So we can just, but we'll talk about it on the PR, I guess.
Okay.
All right, the next one comes back to you, George. Too pretty.
This is too pretty YAML, right? Sorry, I just have the doc in front of me. This looks reasonable to me. I think we're still adding functions here. The use case is slightly dubious in the sense that the guys like my linter doesn't support YAML, which doesn't have indented arrays. And I kind of felt like saying, well, maybe you should fix your linter, but some people like to indent the arrays in YAML, and some people don't. And
yeah, I'll be curious about his use
for the
case.
people who
Like
do,
if he goes to just immediately start distributing a chart with too pretty YAML in it, all the older he's going to have to specify a newer version of Helm in the chart to make sure that older versions of Helm freak out and go try to render it because they're going to blow up anyway. Because that's just when you distribute charts, a lot of people use old versions. So that function won't be generally available to people for a long time. A lot of people don't keep up to date.
yeah, it's true. Okay.
So
yeah. Anyway,
that's the
if someone
only
thinks
thing
it's
there.
reasonable,
So
they can put this. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not complaining. That's just
do you want
one of
to take
those
a look at the
things
PR?
to know. Yeah, I opened it up.
Okay.
I can respond to it. I put it on my list of things to look at. Too pretty I mean, that seems fine to me. All right. Then we have, my thing. I wanted to talk about meetings around the holidays. So we're about to come up to a time of year where pretty much nobody's around or available or really working on much. And so I wanted to talk about when we wanted to cancel meetings. So there's Thursday, December 28th. I figure we'll cancel that unless anybody has an objection. Then there is Thursday the 4th. Did we want to have a meeting that week, or are we going to cancel that one as well?
I will be around, so I can help lead that if you'd like.
I will not be available for that one.
4th?
The 4th. Or wait,
It'll be
sorry.
available too.
Yes,
I think I'll be away.
I imagine a lot of folks will be away though, so I'd still be down to cancel, but I'm also happy to be there if there's a need.
Should we cancel then too?
Yeah, probably. I think Helm maintainers that want to be there, or sorry, that want to be available, we can actually work on something else together during that time.
Okay.
Andy, for example, we've been wanting to
yes,
do a few specific things, so maybe we can just make a working session.
that'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Thursday the 21st, so next Thursday. Do we want to have a meeting?
The 21st?
Yes, I'll be here.
Sure.
I know
I'll be here.
Okay.
I think if we're canceling the two afterwards, it might be worthwhile having this one.
Okay. Then, okay, I'm good with all that. All right. So we'll move on because we've only got 6 minutes left and we've still got many more items. Scott, you've got one, null values and dependencies.
Yeah, Andy just mentioned this again in the Helm maintainers key days. George and I met about this last week.
Okay.
Or sorry, this past week, and part of the thing that's on my mind, definitely don't want to dramatically increase the scope of this issue, but I think it may be fair to say that the logic is not extraordinarily crystal clear the way we actually are supposed, the intended behavior of the coalescing of all of the values in all of these cases. And maybe it is, but if it is, it's not documented super clearly. So I opened this doc and George and I packed on it just a little bit. And Matt, I invited you to it as well, but I didn't really highlight that fact, so you're not remiss in any way. I made this world commentable, readable and commentable. So these are the questions so far. I think it's maybe worth being clear about what we reasonably can do in V3 and what we want to consider simplifying for V4. But in either way, or in both cases, I don't think issues like this can really easily be fixed unless we clarify some of this stuff, I think, as evidenced by some of the, bugs always happen, but I think as evidenced by, it's just complicated and changing anything in there can break something else.
So
yeah, it kind of starts at the top. It's like, what's the intended behavior or the intended feature even meant to be? And then it's unclear what the implementation should even do to satisfy the unclear feature.
Yeah, I think the original thing was actually a feature request that I made and I wrote. And I think since then it's changed, the logic pieces of it have changed a lot. I'm talking specifically about the null values, not all the value coalescing. But the null values as a technique for deleting a key, we've in the past had Helm meetings, several years ago now, about, hey, should we do this a different way? Should we add another, say a flag or things like that? So all those things can be brought back up. I made some comments about it, but the main point of it is that it was before, the main point of it was before we had pre-render, or excuse me, yeah, the pre-rendering option. There was no really good way, besides forking certain charts, to add incompatible Kubernetes API manifest chunks. And so this was a way to say, hey, we can't just add a null. We can't just have a blank value there because Kubernetes API will just complain and it will fail. So we need a way to remove that key. And this was just a suggested technique of doing it. No one minded at the time. But what it should do is it should basically remove the key in dependent charts, in parent charts. And I think the complications come in with the imported and exporting values and what the precedent should be and all that. So I hope that clarifies at least the mucky terrain.
Okay, got it. All right, we have we are about at time, and we have to fill in for who's going to do what for next week. So I want to grab that because I have to duck out here. So moderator, notes, issue triage. Do we have anybody up for any of these things?
I'm still
I'm down to moderate if no one else wants to.
Karina, did I hear you volunteer for something?
I can help moderate, but I know you just, is that okay?
Yeah, totally. Please do.
All right, anybody up for notes?
I can do notes.
Anybody up for issue triage? You know, I haven't done it in a while. I can take it. PR reviews. I know I will be in there as I try to get some stuff done for getting 314 out. So I will be calling on some others to help, but I can put my name down for that too. Okay. All right. I'll be here next time. Scott, I don't know if you will.
I will.
Okay. Andy, you think you'll be here?
No, I will not be here next week.
Okay. All right. So we filled things in. I have to run. So Evans, are you on the call? You're on the call. I'm sorry we did not get to your thing. I don't know if folks want to stick around and continue to have the conversation, or normally what we would do is we'd push this out to next week. Is that something you're okay doing?
Yeah.
I can stay for a few minutes.
You can stay for a few minutes? Okay.
I think Andy's probably the main person that we need to.
I gotta drop for another call. Evan, just reach out to me. I will go ahead and share the assets.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can stick around for a few minutes, Evan, and help to guide that convo to what Andy's talking about, like, you know, so we can chat within Slack and
Yep.
you can reach out
If you can just connect the dots, Scott, that'd be appreciated.
Will do.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Scott, I made you the host, and so I'm gonna drop, and so you all can continue on.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Well, not everyone. Bye, everyone, except for those who are staying. So
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for staying back. Yeah, I'm Evans. I'm interested in the OCI support for Helm. I work for a company called Replicated, and OCI is something that we're interested in because we use Helm heavily, and most of the work seems like it's been for V4. I slacked not slacked, but I put a message there with and Andrew actually did it in the notes. Two issues of interest. There's a bigger one for searching Helm charts that are in an OCI registry, so that's a bigger initiative, I believe. But then there's this upgrade one, which is like a sort of a low-hanging fruit of getting things moving. So yeah, I don't have exactly a question. It's more of what's the plan with OCI and that being a first-class citizen for Helm, if at all.
that is one of the primary plans. We do not actually have a full roadmap for Helm 4 yet. The current, we've talked lately within the last year. Well, I would say within the last even 6 months, a lot more about the creation of and the need for a roadmap than we had previously, but it's come up a number of times. We've talked more about that than actually creating the roadmap itself. What we really need are things that people want. So this isn't, I think what we should do is label one of these V4
Yeah, I think for this particular issue, from memory, from reading it about maybe a month ago, this upgrade to Auras V2 could happen. But there's just one small part where Helm interfaces with something which is specific to Auras V1. And I'm trying to think of the best, like, it might be worth revisiting this, because apart from this one small hang up, I understand this could go forward in Helm V3 and we wouldn't be in this Helm V4 situation.
Correct. And this could be those can be two separate conversations. I'm not necessarily saying it needs to be deferred till V4, but the question that Evans, right?
Yeah.
That Evans has now, like OCI and V4. In short, that's a conversation about the Helm roadmap, but just I can tell you for sure that is there are several of the home maintainers, including me, are extremely have been extremely involved in and focused on OCI and solving a lot of the complicated problems that have arisen over time with Helm repos, the growing index file, and things like that. So that's that question. What George is talking about, sorry, to what you're saying, George, now, I agree. I myself and Andy too helped with the Auras project. It's actually one of the ways that we were able to get OCI and Helm into a full feature. So the answer to what you were asking, Evans, is it used to be an experimental feature. I think you potentially remember that, where you had to set experimental flag to use it. We moved it into a full feature. The way we were able to do that was we worked with the Auras team to create a V1 that they would support with a backwards compatibility promise of a full, like, Semver V1, 1.0.0 or 1.x, right? And both Andy and I offered to help with that, to help the team feel comfortable, the Auras team feel comfortable in setting that, because all their efforts were going to V2. I have not kept up with where they're at with the V2. And I think my question to you both is, do you know whether or not the plain HTTP option is supported in V? Basically what I'm asking is this comment that Andy made with this little compatibility chart table that he wrote, am I reading this correctly, that there's no plain HTTP option that works right now that works with Auras V2? Do either of you know that?
I know the CLI, I believe I've tried with the CLI. However, the SDK and its support, I need to go back and check. Okay. On the CLI I have, because I use that for local testing. But I need to check whether that's working, or whether that's some workaround that they have to get things going, or is it supported by the SDK natively?
Gotcha.
However, in this PR, I did notice a section that was added. Let me just go back. Because I did see there's a breaking change, and which is something that I'm looking at in this PR to see whether we can work around that within because Matt is the one who commented that there is a breaking change here.
Sorry, which PR?
This one. Let me repost it once more.
Do you want me to share my screen? I think I know what you're meaning. Or do you want to share Evans?
Well, yeah, you're saying it. Oh, I see. You posted it in the Zoom chat.
Yes. So there's a change. Yeah, I could share if that's okay. Just a moment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Where is that?
Interesting. Okay. So are you mainly asking, what is your GitHub username, by the way, Evans?
Banjoh. Let me put it there.
Okay, I'm just catching up on these issues. Are you in the comments?
No,
here?
I haven't added a comment. I was just looking at the PR because
Okay.
There is what led to this is I'm working on a maintainer of some project called Troubleshoot, which is essentially needs depends on Helm, and we tried to upgrade ORAS, and then there was this dependency issue. So that's what
the Helm SDK, you mean?
Helm SDK, precisely.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the Helm SDK led me here because it was still pulling in the V1 of ORAS, which we were trying to upgrade.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I came here, looked at it, followed through, and I realized the one thing that's blocking the PR is one comment from Matt, which is
the backwards compatibility of the our public AP of our public SDK.
Exactly. So that led me to essentially this call and trying to figure out what the plans are with V4 and all that.
Gotcha.
And but as a side bit of work that I'm doing is trying to figure out whether I can circumvent that by either reviewing that PR and seeing whether there's a change that could essentially avoid breaking change. Yeah, so that's what led me. That's a story of how I've ended up here.
Gotcha.
Yes, and the OCI support in general, because that's something we're interested in, and searching as well. That's something that we use a lot. So
in the current PR, I have not yet seen. I think that may be actually taken care of. I haven't currently seen in the current PR diff what's backwards incompatible. I think that may have been addressed since then, since that comment.
So scroll up slightly to September the 5th. That made this scroll down slightly. Yeah, this one. This client up resolver has been removed.
Yeah. Oh, hang on a second.
So this is what.
Oh, you're right.
I think this is the one hang up.
Yeah.
So you mean
has it been removed? 1 second.
You mean it's been removed in newer versions, or do you mean in this PR?
No. Has it actually been removed, or is it just not passed as part of a test?
I think it's been removed because that's what Matt is saying here. This function is part of a public SDK. We can't remove it.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the code and I'm not seeing that now. I see Matt's comment and he's totally right. We can't change the public API. We need to add additional functions to do that when there's not veridic options or parameters. I mean,
stated then.
Yes, but I'm just wondering now where it just seems it's. Can you see it, George? Like what I see, like in really the only thing removed right now that relates to client opt resolver is in the registry utils test.
Yeah, what was it?
And that's just one of the options within the func setup. There's not
you might be right. You might be right.
Yeah, it's not backwards incompatible right now from what I can see. And I mean, I'll give you a more thorough review, but I don't see any public functions that have changed signatures or any output that or any of the other things that we consider to be non-backwards compatible.
Well, then,
okay,
in that case,
if that's not true, then then this is probably okay then, right? And they'll make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, it just needs. I think that was an older comment that just we didn't really circle back, or it looks like perhaps it hadn't been circled back and said, "Oh, hey Matt, maybe he Yeah. Or it looks like they actually changed it because I'm seeing right now in the diff right here in his comment that it is a function that was removed, but I don't see it in the PR now.
I think they probably reinstated it. I see a force push here.
Yeah.
So could be in
Oh yeah, let me look at the, oh, yeah, it looks like it's just been force pushed or whatever, so we can't actually look at the commit differences, but yeah, I think you're right. It's certainly not removed in the current state of the PR as it is now.
Okay. Yeah, well, then that's good. Looks like Andy looked at it as well, or there's some chatter here from Andy. This is Andy, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah, Andy, yeah.
Yep.
Chatter here, back and forth. All right, well, let's consider this as a nudge to, I guess
exactly. Thank you, Evans. Yeah, we'll definitely look over it. Do you in fact, I just briefly looked at it and it looks good, but I'll give it a review. Right now, the only thing that is I mean, it's passing the tests. The tests haven't been altered to be, I think, to be non-functional, at least that I can see. I think one thing that you could help with is, could you please test this and comment on the ise? I mean, you can give a review as well. It's not a maintainer review, but you can still do the GitHub review and say, yes, I've reviewed it. This is what I got, or no, I found this problem. But if you can give your exact steps and you can describe the use case as specifically as possible, that will really go a long way in helping.
Okay. I'll give it some time. Yes, I'll do that.
Awesome. And feel free to ping on Kubernetes Slack too, because I may actually wait to do like the review until you do your tests, since you're already volunteering to do this. I don't want to double efforts.
Yeah.
Because if you find something that I didn't happen to find, then I'll have to circle back and review it anyway. So.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll do that, then ping you on Slack. I believe.
Oh, and probably George, do you want to be pinged on this too? I don't want to add extra work to your plate, but I know that you've been doing things like reproducing or like testing out things like this.
Sure, I can give it a spin. I will. How do I say this? We just have, I'm just trying to think. I would need to set up an OCI registry and push them.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing. Yeah.
I do that a lot, so that's.
Yeah, actually, that would be great, Evans. If you can set up. If you can set up some. Basically, that would be, if you could make reproducible steps like 1, 2, 3, 4, and set some public images up, and that would be great. But some of this is about authentication, so you're not going to give us your authentication credentials to your private registry. I mean, unless you have the bandwidth and budget to set up a test private registry that has nothing specific in it and are happy to share those credentials. Yeah, I don't know if you're able to do that. If you can, that would be fantastic.
Let's see what I got.
Talk to. I'm going to add this as a agenda item for next week's meeting.
Yeah.
Oh no, Andy's not going to be here. And he's probably the one that has the biggest.
That's okay. We can at least see if there's any progress and note that in next week's meeting.
Oh, sorry. I didn't finish my thought. What I was specifically going to add to the meeting was getting a OCI registry for Helm to run integration tests against. Because we can do this one-off, and I think it might be worth doing it one-off for this PR to get it moving forward. That'll be much appreciated, Evans. But over time, I think we want to have this as a more robust setup that will run often, more frequently.
I think you're right. That's a good point.
Okay, so I'll add the OCI registry for testing.
It would be really nice if there was some robust testing against all the major registries with the several supported authentication options.
Yeah, I mean, the registry providers have an interest here because if Helm breaks with their registries,
Yeah.
then it's a bad experience for the users and a problem for us. So, yeah.
I mean, plain HTTP, that's just about setting up our own in test.
Yeah.
You know, but all the others, it would be nice to have them in the major cloud providers.
Okay, let me add to this
But cool,
agenda.
cool. I'm gonna run, or I have to run now. Thanks so much, Evans, and I'll talk to you soon, George.
Thank
Yeah,
you for your time.
tomorrow, right?
Yeah, thanks for your time, and yeah, and also offering to take a look at that. I'll ping you on Slack. I couldn't find your handle, or rather, well, there's lots of people at and lots of
I'm Scott Rigby. So you can
No.
just type the @ sign and I should come up.
is it? Okay.
I'm definitely in the
dev one, right?
yeah, there we go. Scott
This
Rigby.
one.
You got it.
Gotcha, yes. All right, cool.
Thanks, Evans.
Thank
Bye,
you.
all.
Have yourselves well, it's Thursday. Well, on my side at least.
Yeah.
See you.
Almost a good weekend. All right, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, almost there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.